Hello, and welcome to The Art of Being Self-ish. I am Dr. Sims, a licensed psychologist, and on this channel, I discuss ways that you can take care of yourself or be self-ish so that you feel nourished and filled enough to take care of others. Now, while we will be discussing topics related to mental health on this channel, this is not a substitute for therapy. So, this is our last week of July, the last week of Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are going to do one last 6 minutes of selfishness related to seeking mental health treatment. We talked about reasons why you might seek treatment. We talked about barriers and myths that keep people out of treatment. We talked about finding a therapist so you can start treatment. And today, I want to focus this session on how do you be a good client when you're going to therapy. So the first thing that I want you to think about when you're going into therapy is letting go of this belief that the therapist is going to fix you. First and foremost, for me personally, I don't believe that people are broken and need to be fixed. I believe in helping people. I believe in encouraging people and supporting people and helping you to find your way, helping you to get to healing, helping you to process, but I don't believe in fixing people. And I typically can't fix anybody. I don't know a therapist out there who has a magic wand or a magic pill or a genie in the bottle who can grant all of these different things in your life and make them automatically be improved. It doesn't exist. And so the sooner you're able to let go of that belief, the easier it's going to be for you to go through the therapy process and go through your healing process. The second part of that, though, is that if I'm not the one that's doing the fixing, then who is? And that brings me to this. You are going to do work in therapy. There are some times when it's difficult to do the work. It is not easy, and maybe it's frustrating and it's draining. But as long as you're trying and you're putting forth 100% of effort, I can meet you there. And sometimes I do have to stand in. Sometimes your therapist does have to stand in the gap of where you're not able to be on that particular therapy session. But know that as long as we can get you to have the effort and can get you to put forth that effort, we're able to help you with whatever it is that you're trying to achieve from therapy. But with that being said, please keep in mind, number 3, that therapy is very draining. It can be a very emotionally draining process. It can be a lot of hard work because you're with me for maybe 45 minutes on a good week, and a good month every week. Most of the time, that's 45 minutes every 2 weeks, depending on what our schedules look like. And so you're the one that's doing the work outside of therapy. You're the one that is actually making those changes. That can be a very draining process. I tell people at the beginning of therapy all the time that this might get harder before it gets better, and not in a way to scare them or anything like that, but to be realistic about what that process looks like and how sometimes it can be hard of unpacking all of that gunk and all of that hurt and pain from the past and trying to do something different with it in the present. So definitely keep that in mind. Another thing that's really helpful when it comes to therapy is do your homework. Your homework may just be changing a habit, doing something different in your day-to-day activities. But if you're not doing that work in between therapy, you're not going to see the progress and the changes that you want to see. And so another part of being a good client is making sure that you're communicating with your therapist. So like I just said, maybe the last week was rough and you couldn't do the homework. You really tried, but it was just a hard time. But if you don't come in and tell me like that doesn't work, that's not my style of how I grow and how I change, then I can't be helpful in trying to figure out what is going to be a good fit for you. Giving us feedback is so helpful because this is your process. This is your journey. Being a good client is about embracing that this is your journey. You are the leader and the facilitator on this. We're here to assist, we're here to guide, we're here to help, but you are going through this process and we can't read your mind. And if you aren't willing to give us that feedback, sometimes you're not going to be able to get the help that you need from us. So definitely be open to communicating and giving feedback to your therapist, whether it's positive feedback, which we love to hear, but also the constructive feedback, the constructive criticism of this isn't really working, or I didn't like what you said to me last week. And sometimes that can be challenging. That's a thing that we have to build up courage around, but that is your environment to try out those risky behaviors that maybe you wouldn't do outside of therapy. Doing that in a safe environment where you can get feedback and you can have a conversation and a dialogue about that is going to be helpful in your growth of being able to have those difficult conversations with people outside of therapy as well. And so the last thing that I will comment on is, do not let a bad therapy experience keep you out of treatment. So I will hear a lot of people say like, oh, I went to therapy one time and the therapist was horrible, or like they weren't paying attention to me, they didn't understand me, and so I've just thrown it all out. Just because you had one bad experience with one therapist does not necessarily mean that you have to throw the whole thing away and not focus on your mental health treatment. There are a lot of different therapists out there. So if you need to go find someone else to give you the treatment that you need, that is our primary concern. So those are just a few helpful things about being a good client. Don't expect your therapist to fix you. Be ready to put in the work. Do your homework. Know that it's going to be a draining process, and do not let one bad therapy experience ruin therapy for the rest of your life. The help is out there for you to get. We want you to get the help you need because we want to see you be successful and live your most optimal life. So, thanks so much for tuning in this week. Be sure to join us next week as we talk about being selfish in other areas of your life. Bye.